The Steelers hit a wall last week at home against the Buffalo Bills, and now the team searches for answers on both sides of the football, with a race for the AFC North Championship still in reach. Today, they visit the Ravens for an afternoon battle from Baltimore. We will get you ready for the action all right here on Steelers Kickoff, live from KDKA TV.
Welcome to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Good morning, everyone. It is a game day and a big one as you look at Baltimore, Maryland, where the battle for first place in the AFC North takes center stage this afternoon on KDKA TV. We take you inside M&T Bank Stadium, the first edition of Steelers and Ravens, kicking off at 1 o'clock. Buckle up for the next installment of this rivalry. And welcome inside our KDKA TV studios for another edition of Steelers Kickoff, alongside the quarterback of the program, Mr. Charlie Batch. I'm Bob Pompeani. Rich Walsh and Gerry Dulac are standing by in Maryland. We'll get to them shortly. Charlie, we started with the news of the week. After parting of the ways in Minnesota, veteran wide receiver Adam Thielen suddenly is a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he was getting limited snaps with the Vikings this season and certainly wanted an opportunity to end with a team that had a chance to make the playoffs. So he chose the Steelers. They chose him. Steelers claimed him, and Thielen is a guy who's desperately potentially helping them with what they need, which is reception yards. He's a veteran. He's been down this road before. What do you think about his acquisition, and how much can he make an impact?
Yeah, I like the acquisition, and right now he's going to have a crash course, which he did this week, trying to get ahead of that learning curve, because he's going to be thrown into today's game. So he's going to have to figure out what those checks look like. But when you have you're averaging less than 190 yards passing, you need a spark, and this is the spark that the Steelers offense is hoping for.
Do you approve number 16?
Hey,
are you renting that? Do you charge people for that?
I don't charge anybody. It's been 13 years since I wore that jersey.
All right, if Thielen does make an impact today, he'll be catching passes from a former division rival in Aaron Rodgers, who will make the start despite the broken bones in his hand. Now, Charlie, what did you see from Rodgers last week as far as, how he had to deal with that situation, not taking snaps under center? Do you think it'll change this week? How much more can he do?
Yeah, I expect the same formula. I expect him to be in the shotgun. But watching last week, it didn't seem like he had any effects from catching that football and handing it off. It wasn't until he received that hit at the beginning of the third quarter when that sack fumble happened. But overall, he looks better. He said he feels better this week. And let's just see if now we can get that running game going out of the shotgun.
Yeah, they need that for sure against this team in Baltimore. Possession will be big. We're all aware this game means a lot each time the Steelers and Ravens meet up, but right now the winner is going to take over sole possession of the AFC North Division lead. The Ravens have the spot right now in the division due to tiebreakers, but today's winner will have outright possession of first place with just 4 games left after today. You have to watch out for the Bengals, who have definitely found a resurgence with the return of Joe Burrow. So every game at this point is a very big game moving forward. Now it's time to head to Baltimore. Rich Walsh is standing by with more news and notes on this big game today. Rich, what's going on down there?
Aaron Rodgers still isn't 100%. It might not be for the rest of the season, but he is healthy enough to play here today. And after a good week of practice, he's hoping to put on a good performance out here in Baltimore.
It's definitely healing. I appreciate the extra day off. I love the practice, so I hate missing practice. But dealing with what I'm dealing with, it helps to get another day without any pounding on the, on the bones in there. So we'll see what happens. I'd love to be able to be under center. That'll probably be a later in the week decision. Yeah, I didn't come out of the game any worse for wear. So the healing process has continued, and we'll see what happens as far as the type of cast I use come Sunday.
And speaking of Rodgers, now it's time to bring in our Steelers insider, Gerry Dulac. Gerry, now Rodgers said after last week's game that not all the receivers were watching film with him. He had a special session this week. What happened?
Yeah, Rich, on Monday he had all the wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends, all the skill players over to his house to watch film and go over some of the plays. And maybe coincidentally was also his 42nd birthday. Ben Skoranek brought a decorated cake for his birthday. But they do this from time to time, so it's nothing surprising. But he just wanted to make sure, after everything that he at least thought following the game last week, he wanted to make sure he addressed it a little bit more personally this week.
Well, one of the guys he's been targeting is Jonnu Smith. Haven't been on the same page. Now, they brought him in to do some big things. What's going on with Smith?
You know, Rich, it's one of the big disappointments of the season. You know, it's a guy who had 88 catches last year, 900-some yards, and he only has 30 catches. A bigger mystery than Jonnu Smith is where's Pat Freiermuth. To me, it's unconscionable that Pat Freiermuth is as ignored as he is. I know the Steelers feel both of those players are doing a good job, but their stats certainly don't show in terms of production that they're doing a good job. And, you know, they're getting lost in all the snaps that Darnell Washington is getting right now, and I get why he is.
Well, they claimed Adam Thielen, the veteran. He still has a little left in the tank. What are they hoping from him? But also, MVS is going to be active.
Yeah, they need another week at least with Adam Thielen to get him acclimated to the offense. But they elevated Marvez Valdez-Scantling for today, and it's because Arthur Smith wants to change things up. He needs to push the envelope a little. He's not getting the production that he wanted out of their 3 wide receiver sets. I don't know how much MVS is going to play today, but he is going to play. I'm not sure how much he'll be targeted, but they have to do things differently. He knows it. It's that time of year, Rich. They can't keep going the way they've been going.
That's for sure. All right, thanks, Gerry. As always, great stuff. Now back to you guys in the studio in Pittsburgh.
All right, Rich, Gerry, thank you very much. It's now time for our Hyundai by the Numbers segment. Let's take a look at some of the second half drives for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, man, this is not good. First drive of the second half has been bad for the Steelers in recent weeks. A lot of punts, a fumble loss, just 1 field goal, no touchdowns. Meanwhile, the opponents have scored 4 on 4 of the 6 first drives to start the second half against the Steelers. Certainly not a recipe for success. So, Charlie, why do you think the Steelers stall so much offensively coming out of halftime?
Well, those adjustments aren't being made, so obviously, in one sense, it's on the coaches, but ultimately, it's on the players because there's always something that's happening that's stalling a drive, whether that's a penalty, some type of negative play that is happening, and unfortunately, they're not able to sustain that drive. They have to do better, and they know that, and that's just tough to watch when you put that all of those drives up there in the manner that they have. It's very tough to watch.
Third quarters have been bad for them, and they had leads in many of these games, and it dissipated. Now it's time for our weekly quarterback analysis, which is presented by Cleveland Brothers. And today we're going to focus on the recent inability to throw the ball down the field. If you look at the last 5 games, this is stunning to say this, but they have not completed a single pass air yards. I'm talking about 20 air yards down the field, none of them. So is it scheme related, or is this, you know, the players don't fit the scheme that they're trying to figure out?
Yeah, players right now aren't fitting the scheme because they're not doing this. It's not something that's just this week. We've been seeing it consistently throughout the season. And when you're putting that type of play on tape, the defenses aren't respecting your offense, and that's exactly what's happening. They're playing everything in front, putting hands in faces, and those type of things. And right now, they have to get those explosive plays back in. Do I expect the Steelers to do that this week? What's there to lose? I want them to go out there and push the envelope.
I agree with you. They need that down the field play to make everything else open up underneath. And we're just getting started here on Steelers Kickoff. Rich caught up with one of the more dynamic players for the Steelers offense this season. That's Kenny G. Kenny Gainwell. We'll be back with that interview next.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
We continue in advance of Steelers and Ravens Part 1. You know, the offense has been an issue for the Steelers in recent weeks, but one player has stayed pretty consistent throughout. That's running back Kenny Gainwell. You know, he isn't the starting running back, but he has been out on that field for plenty of snaps, and he's making the most of them. And he had an opportunity to speak with Rich Walsh earlier this week on the South Side.
How much does it help with the situation you guys are in here now, that you have been through those ups and downs in Philadelphia, and you have gone to the highest of the highs?
Yeah, man, I just think it's come down to like the small things, the detailed things. But at the same time, everyone had to wake up each day and go do a job one play at a time, one day at a time, one thought at a time, one word at a time. So I mean, you gotta just wake up and go and do it if you want to get things done.
It's been kind of a roller coaster ride for this team and the offense. How close are you guys to putting it all together, you think?
I think we were real close. I think this week was one of the better weeks that we had all season. And us clicking at the right time is going to be a great thing for us. We can turn this whole thing around. Never know what can happen. But it take this next game, it takes Sunday to do it, and we can get it done.
You know, you're supposed to play? Everyone talks about playing your best football in December. Mm-hmm. You guys close to that, you think?
Yeah, I think we're close to it. I think there's some things we got to clean up on. But at the same time, it takes us being on the same page to get those things done.
And this is the one game that you want to turn things around. And
Yeah.
the biggest game of the year. Right? It's a rivalry game, and you've played in a lot of them in Philadelphia as well.
Yeah, right. This is the one. This is why we were determining things, and I think we get this one here done. We stay locked in on key details and things that we have to do, and we'll get it done.
All right, Charlie, the signing of Gainwell did not move the needle much in town, but he's been a very good contributor. Has he exceeded your expectations? Because I didn't expect him to be almost the leading receiver on this team, but that's what he's turned out to be.
Absolutely. I think he's exactly what the Steelers were hoping for when they signed him coming over from the Eagles. It's a nice compliment to Jaylen Warren. Warren went out with some injuries. He was now elevated to play, and I thought he put some nice tape out there. That's why you're seeing him now equal essentially the number of plays that Jaylen Warren is doing. Outside of the stats, the one thing that always shows up to me, this guy is very good at pass protection. That's why he's in on third downs, because he keeps a clean pocket for Aaron Rodgers.
All right, we're going to take another look from Baltimore, the site of the Steelers and the Ravens, part 1. You see Corliss Waitman right there getting his kicks in. Hopefully you don't see him much in this game. That would be a good sign. When we return on Steelers Kickoff, Rich joins us with a preview of the Ravens, what's been going on in Baltimore. Keep it locked right here to KDKA TV. It always seems like it comes down to Ravens and Steelers.
This may be the best rivalry of the NFL.
No two teams know each other better.
Starts up front, ends up front. Let's believe it. Let's go. One of the most physical slugfests in the entire league.
You don't have to say much more than Steelers-Ravens.
The most physical football of the year. Everybody buckle up.
All right, here we go. It's coming up, man. Thanks to Steelers Media Productions for a great hype video ahead of this classic rivalry in the AFC North. And in many ways, the Ravens are having similar struggles to the Steelers this season, make for a very interesting matchup today. Rich is back with more of what Baltimore has done. They're 6-6, Rich. Dead heat.
Yes, it is, Bob. Rivalries are only rivalries when the series is close, and that's exactly what we have with the Steelers and the Ravens. This one usually comes down to the wire. Usually is a 3-point or less game, and today we have 6-6 teams fighting for first place in the AFC North. Baltimore came into this season as one of the favorites to win the AFC. But after losing 5 of their first 6, the Birds' wings seemed to be clipped. Somehow they took flight again by winning 5 straight before getting blown out last week at home against the Bengals. So which Ravens team can the Steelers expect to show up on Sunday?
What's it going to be like on Sunday is going to depend on how well we play. If we play really well, then it's going to be great. And if we don't, it's not going to be so great. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about.
For the 4th straight week, Lamar Jackson was limited at practice, so he's still not 100%. Despite that, the Ravens have one of the best running attacks, thanks to Derrick Henry, who torched the Steelers in Baltimore twice last year. And coming into this game, the Ravens ranked 5th in yards per game and 2nd in yards per carry at an even 5 per. But their offense has been hindered by turnovers and the inability to finish drives. They are 4th worst in the league with 18 giveaways, 3rd worst in red zone percentage. But as the old saying goes, you can throw those stats out the window with this rivalry. Since 2020, the Steelers have had the upper hand overall, but the Ravens dominated the last 2 meetings. And look at the average score over the past 5 years. Both teams are separated by just 1/10 of a point.
You want Ravens-Steelers rivalries, how they've continued over the years. I think there's no better stage than 2 teams that are just trying to win the North.
Well, now to the South College game plan. Lamar Jackson is not having an MVP-type season. Look at these stats this year compared to his career. 5-4 this year compared to a .745 winning percentage before 2025. Rushing yards per game are down. He's getting sacked at a higher rate. Obviously, he's dealing with something right now. And the last time these 2 teams met was that wild card game here. I was here, 299 on the ground, the most postseason rushing yards in the franchise history. You saw what the Steelers gave up last week against the Bills, the most rushing yards in Acrisure history. So we obviously know what the Ravens' game plan will be today.
Yeah, Rich, and hopefully the Steelers will put up a better defensive showing in that regard. And, you know, early on, the Steelers seem to have a lot of success against Lamar Jackson, Charlie, but the last 2 games have been a completely different story. You take a look at the numbers, you know, Lamar was 1-4 in the first 4 starts against the Steelers in his career, averaging almost 2 picks per game and over 4 sacks taken per game in those matchups. And since then, he's been more responsible with the football in the pass game, taking fewer sacks and completing more passes, 2-0 in the last 2 games. So, Charlie, prior to last season, the Steelers seem to have his number. What do you think has changed, and why does he look better in those last 2?
Yeah, the biggest difference is that Ravens have been able to run the ball consistently against that Steelers defense. And when that happens, now the Steelers have to commit one extra defender in the box, and now he's able to get one-on-one on the outside. And you can see his completion percentage goes from 59% to 67%. And I'll let you know he's getting what he wants outside. So they're going to have to make him very disruptive for Lamar Jackson here today because, like Rich mentioned, he's battling something. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah, he's been hobbled all season long, it seems. You know, we've mentioned how important this game is for each of these teams in playoff positioning and the standings. The schedule for the end of the season is very interesting and very different here. When you look at it, the Ravens have the Bengals once more, then the top team in the AFC right now, the number 1 seeded Patriots, and a very tough Green Bay team before coming to Pittsburgh to end the season. The Steelers, well, they host Miami next Monday night. They go to Detroit, face the Browns on the road before that final head-to-header here in Pittsburgh in January. So, Charlie, lots of teams still alive in this parity league, which is exactly what the NFL always has strived for, right?
They do, and they're excited at the league because now you're seeing all the division games mattering in the month of December. And right now, this game is trending, at least the second Ravens game is trending to a potential late Sunday night game in January for the division.
Well, it's time to send the program to New York City. James Brown is standing by. He has a look at what's coming up after our program on the NFL Today. JB?
Hey, Bob, up next on the NFL Today, your Hall of Fame coach Bill Cowher fired up for Ravens Week as we break down the matchup between your Steelers and their bitter rivals. And your former QB, Russell Wilson, live and in studio for the day. And, folks, we get a chance to chop it up with Buccaneers receiver Chris Godwin. Nate's guy, Kyle Brandt, gives an ode to his favorite head coach in the league. But for now, Bob and Charlie, they'll be right back. That's when Steeler Kickoff continues right here on KDKA.
Steelers Kickoff is presented by McClellan's Contracting and Roofing. If our name goes on it, we stand behind it, so you can stand in it.
You know, earlier this week, our very own Charlie Batch had the honor of informing Alex Highsmith that he was the Steelers' most recent nominee for this year's Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. Good stuff, and Alex has worked extensively to help people both in Western Pennsylvania and his hometown of Charlotte, and he is very worthy of that nomination. Charlie was also very busy yesterday when he combined with our crew from PTL to do a toy drive. Walmart and Cranberry. Charlie, you've been busy, but it looks like a raving success.
This was unbelievable. All of the support for people who came all over the region to support. Thank you to everybody who believes in everything that we are trying to do as we are adopting 400 families, which is over 1,800 kids. And when you just hear stories on what happens, there was one person that said he collected a toy, one present per week, delivering 52 presents over the course of the year. So it's just really great. We're fortunate. So if anybody wants to continue to be a part of it, you can go to batchfoundation.org. You'll see all of our drop-off locations along with click and ship options that you can continue to be a part of it up until December 22nd.
Give you a lot of credit for that. You and Latasha do an outstanding job. It's Santa Charlie, we call him here. All right, how about who's in, who's out today? Take a look at the inactives here. Kyle Duggar, we knew that. He's going to be out. Derek Harmon out. Calvin Anderson out. Roman Wilson will be a healthy scratch today, as will Keyshawn Williams. We have what we think of this game coming up. Prediction time is next right here on BetMGM Steelers Kickoff, live from Pittsburgh and live from Baltimore.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Only 5 games left in this regular season. The biggest one to date is today in Baltimore. The Ravens are 6-point favorites. Rich Walsh, how do you see this playing out?
Well, a lot riding on this, no question about this. I would say that the loser of this game does not make the postseason. I like the Steelers in this one. They've had a lot of success in Baltimore outside of last year. They won 6 out of 7 outside of those 2 games last year, and they weren't pretty games last year. I think the Steelers win a close one, 20-17. My reasoning, Lamar Jackson is not Lamar Jackson, and they're going to key on stopping Derrick Henry. We'll see if they can do it. Steelers by 3.
All right, Charlie, do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, there's a lot of noise that we heard about this week, obviously, at the state of this team. But I think ultimately the Steelers are going to go into Baltimore, understand this rivalry. They're going to get the job done here today because I firmly believe they're going to open up the offense and use Aaron Rodgers' arm to attack that Ravens defense. Steelers win today, 19-17.
Jerry Dulac says it's going to be the Ravens at 20-17, and I agree with you, Charlie. I think, I've picked against them the last 2 weeks, and they lost both. I think they're going to shake out of that today and win. 21-17, you'll see the game coming up right after the NFL Today here on KDKA. That's next, and then it's a 1 o'clock kickoff. Steelers and Ravens, and then afterwards, we'll be on after the CBS postgame show with a special edition of The Extra Point at Nightly Sports Call. Wrap it all up tonight on time, 11:35 with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. And that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you after the game, and hopefully we'll have some good things to talk about. Steeler fans are down in Baltimore. We'll see if they can bring a helping hand and help the Steelers against the Ravens on KDKA.